Okay. How about no? Wheels. What wheels? User customization. Say what now? Oh boy. New Swift wheels. What? New. Where? Owned, owned, owned. So I don't see anything new there, guy. Okay. Maybe it's not available on this bike. I bet you that's it. Yeah. Alright, that's stupid. How much longer are we upgrading this bike for? 80K. Apparently, you have to upgrade Zwift bikes before you can do Tron bike. So that's what we're doing right now. I know, I just said that. What's this? Team camp. Huh? What is this? Yeah, I feel like they're probably doing a lot harder than that on their team camp. What the hell is that crap? 2 minutes at threshold. That's a dumb workout. Yeah, that's a dumb workout. Let's see next one. 15 sweet spot, 5-minute threshold. Okay. So far we haven't seen anything above threshold, and we haven't seen a threshold interval longer than 5 minutes. Next, hey, finally we get something above threshold. 30 seconds on 2.5 minutes. Okay, that's something. And then 20 minutes tempo. It's not much of a team camp, guys. Garbage. Absolute garbage. What's the route of the week? Beach Island. Boy. Oh boy. Let's just do power punches. Or we ride with the pace partner. Let's just ride with the pace partner. Let's do that. Where are they going today? Yumi is on that. Jacques. Maybe we go with Jacques. I think so. Okay. Be tough to hang with them in the heat, but I think that's what we'll do. Okay. Alright. Welcome everyone. So today I'm just doing a very simple session, and basically to pass the time, I find these, I don't know about you, but it's these recovery rides, I don't know, they suck. They're so boring. They're not, like, I still rather do this than anything else, and put it that way, but, versus sitting on the couch. So I'm not going to complain ever at being on the bike in any capacity. But what I mean is that they are just a lot, like, mentally, they're just like, ugh, kind of boring in comparison to, what's it called? What's up here? Okay, Jacques, see where you are. Uh-oh. Guess we're going with no fan for the beginning here. Well, we're going for no fan for any of it, actually, but... Just get that guy going. Oh, easy there. So, yeah, so what I was saying, today just have 90 minutes, easy. So did a run before, swim, some strength, and now just 90 minutes, which is the shortest ride I've done on the bike in maybe 5 weeks. So this is gonna feel really odd, but anyways, it's a taper week, and so starting the week just kind of recovering from the weekend. And so the first, how I am like organizing this week, so let me say the Everest is going to be on Saturday, and so that's on March 7th, and today is Monday. And so how the week's going to go is, in general, the first part of the week is focused around recovery from the block, and then the second part of the week, or let's say the middle part of the week, is focused on sharpening and / recovering as we get even closer. So first part recovery, second part sharpening with recovery, and then third is game time on March 7th. And so today, moving detected. Don't think so. Get in the draft, guy. Let's go. Why am I not in the draft? Like, how am I getting dropped right now? I'm at 3 watts per kilo, and I seem to be getting dropped by guys doing 2.6. Let's increase a little bit more. It's going to be hard once the heat session starts in 12 minutes. Or 17 minutes. Well, let's go in 12 minutes, actually. It's a good round number. So, yeah, today have 15 minutes cool conditions, and then 75 minutes in the heat, and then tomorrow will be pretty similar with few openers, just short, sharp. And then Wednesday will be kind of like a proper session, kind of the last real like hit of TSS, where we'll there aren't that many short sessions. That's the problem. I'd say most are right now. I mean, on average, in the last 28 days, the average was 4 hours and 19. And so, there's not that many short ones. And not that many where, like today, it's all just kind of recovery and then heat on the end. Which people might think, I don't understand, it's not a recovery ride if there's heat session. And while I'll kind of agree a little bit that it's like, well, it's not like a pure recovery ride, it is for my legs. Because once the heat component starts, the power is going to be like 175. And so from a legs perspective, it's recovery, but keeping kind of that aerobic going, keeping the sweat going, getting that good flow, keeping it going. Heart rate's a little higher than normal here, just as the fan is currently out of my reach. I started this with the fan too far away and I can't reach it, and I don't want to get off and get it. I only have 9 more minutes in the cool anyways, and so whatever. But yeah, so today is that. Tomorrow, as I said, some pick-me-ups, and Wednesday, last like proper session, but shorter, obviously. So for example, whereas the last Wednesday was doing 4 hours and 20 times up the radio tower, this Wednesday would be like half of that, essentially. And then Thursday will look very similar to today, so just easy with some heat. And then Friday, pick-me-ups, and then Saturday, game time. So it goes like recovery with heat, recovery with pickups, TSS, like heavier TSS, but like heavier compared to the others, but light, like 50% of what it would be the week before. And then that cycle back Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So recovery plus pickups, and then the big thing. And so the other thing too on that Wednesday is still needing to decide between, oh, this is going to be annoying, every single lap do this thing. Yeah, still deciding between the radio tower and the Alp, and that's what I'll be talking about today, is just a little bit on my thoughts on that. Yeah, this is basically turning into a 90-minute heat session, I guess, because I'm already getting hot and should have had the fan going. Let's at least take this top off. And then we got 7 minutes, and then everything goes back on. Um, so, radio tower versus the Alp. That is the question. I'll give you my pros of each, and then the cons of each. So, first up, let's start with the radio tower. So, radio tower, for people who don't know, I'll talk about that once we're done the Everest. I'm focused on the Everest right now. But, yeah, we'll talk in a week's time. The Everest is all I'm thinking about right now, as it's going to be a big hit out, regardless whatever route it is. It's going to be a big one, and so yeah, I'm not looking past it at all. I know what I'm doing, obviously, but I'm focused on it fully. How on earth are you getting dropped again, guy? So, radio towers, people don't know, it's at the power I'm doing, it's going to be about a 5-minute roughly climb. Touch longer. Like 5:05 to 5:10, in that range. And it's actually okay if I get dropped, because for the heat session I'm probably not going along at 200, and that starts in 4 minutes, so it doesn't really matter if I just let them go here. Just gave me at least a nice 15 minutes of company. It is bizarre though, like 3.2, like I'm above 3.2. What are we at right now? We're at 3.2 on the dot. So weird that the guy just lost the draft like it was nothing, even with a lightweight there. Radio tower is short climb, so about 5 minutes long. But what that means is short descent. And so the pro is that it's a much steeper climb. And so at 150 meters gain in 5 minutes, with roughly a 1 minute long descent, that means if you multiply that out by an hour, including the descent, you're getting 10 runs, which 10 times 150, you're looking at 1500 VAM in an hour, including descents. With the Alp, on the other hand, the Alp is around 1,000 meters, 1,050. And at the power I'm doing, let's say roughly 41 minutes, I'll say 40 to make math easy. If you do that, and then you add on an 11-minute descent, VAM-wise, you're less than the radio tower. So if you want exact things, that means in 51 minutes, you're climbing 1,050 meters. So that means 60 divided by 51 times 1 that. So you're at a VAM of 1,222 versus 1,500. So you're almost around 300 meters an hour when you take the descents into account. You're around 300 meters an hour more on the radio tower versus the Alp. So there's no like ifs, ands, or like what ifs or anything like that. The radio tower is faster. How much faster? We're talking likely in the range of about an hour. Like at equivalent effort level, like I think I could shave time off both. Like I still, even though I'm really fit, LT2 is not at its top. It's still probably another 40 watts to go. LT1 is insane right now. But I've got to start getting my stuff on. But LT2 can definitely get stronger. And so, I mean, that would bump up the radio tower for sure. That climb being shorter, you can push a little bit higher of a percentage. Let me just get my stuff on and then I'll continue. If I can reach. Thank you. Sec. Try not to get dropped. See how long we can stick around with these folks. Ooh. Yeah, that's gonna be hot. I can tell. So, what was I saying? The radio tower is undoubtedly faster than the Alp. The downsides of it are the two ones that I really see coming in is one, it's, let me just get some no copyright stuff going in the background. The silence is a bit annoying. Copyright. Best of. So yeah, the two downsides I see, two big ones, is one around nutrition. It's gonna be harder on Radio Tower for a couple reasons to take in a lot of nutrition. One, the descent is very short, and you gotta be pretty quick on the turnarounds, because with the speed that you come down the radio tower in, if you're like asleep at the wheel for even just a second, your guy's basically going back down the entire epic KOM. And so, yeah, spin wheel. I don't even know what's going on with the spin wheel. It's like unlocking all sorts of things. It's a little bit annoying almost. But yeah, I don't know what I've unlocked a bunch. I haven't really looked at it yet. Here we got another thing, a groovy bucket hat. Great, awesome. So yeah, it's harder on the nutrition because the descent's shorter, and you gotta really pay attention, or else you end up going down the entire KOM essentially, and then you're pretty much screwed at that point. The other reason that I think it's harder on nutrition is on the up. If you say, well, why don't you just take nutrition on the way up? Well, one, obviously harder at a higher effort. You're likely going at a little bit higher percent of FTP, being a 5-minute climb versus, you know, a 40-minute climb. So you could kind of turn it up a little bit. Still, I don't think you're going quite at FTP, considering the length of descent being only a minute. I think that's a little aggressive. Seems like a recipe to blow up to me. So I think you're pretty much going sweet spot, I think, but higher percent than the Alp, where there it's more LT1 tempo, kind of in that range. So it's just such a long climb. And so it's harder on the up because A, you're going a little bit harder, but then two, because it's so steep, getting to 17% around that little bend, it's kind of hard to like contort your body to really get stuff, because you're going to be likely at a very low RPM. And so with that, it's kind of hard to, as I said, grab and thing with one hand on the handlebars. I know you're inside, but like, it's still hard, like, to do that at such a low cadence, so much torque, etc. And so, harder to take nutrition is one downside, and then two, around nature breaks. On the Alp, you can take a nature break on the descent, and there's no time really lost. Like, I've tested the Alp many times, and whether or not you're pedaling or not, and there's not going to be that much pedaling here for sure, considering in the front I'll be in a 34 tooth, like at 100% trainer difficulty, which is what it needs to be for the rules. In a 34 tooth, the descent, like, you ain't pedaling. There's zero sustained pedaling going on. It's freewheeling the whole way down, essentially, with maybe a few bursts here or there. But on the descent, you really don't gain a lot of time pedaling or not pedaling on the Alp. It's like, it's almost not worth it, because it's like, at best, it's like you're getting maybe 10 seconds. You know, like, it's that small, where freewheeling versus, you know, let's say 150, 180 watts, maybe 10 seconds. Like, maybe top end 15 times 8. So it's like, great, over 7 hours, you've saved a minute. You know, it's not really worth that much, apart from just, you know, trying to stay loose. But, you know, from a time perspective, you're not, my point is you're not losing anything to say, like, I'm going to go to the other side of the room here and go to the bathroom. On the radio tower, if you need to take a nature break, that's straight up time out of your pocket. And the reason is because, and I said this on Instagram, you can't take it on the descent, because if you do, your guy's gonna go all the way back down the epic KOM. If you're not here at the wheel, your guy's going all the way back down. And I've timed it in some of my long rides that if I have the pee bottle beside me, I can pee out about half a liter in 45 seconds. But given the fact that I am on a live stream, it changes things a little bit. Unfortunate, but I'd rather still do the live stream for a number of reasons. I think it's more fun. I think, too, it adds more legitimacy to it. And 3, you know, in the future, it'd be nice to look back, see where I was, like from my end, personally, and just have like that, like a visual record, more so than just like a TCX file or a FIT file. And so you can't do it on the descent, really, with a stream going, because I can't just pee on the stream. I could, and I thought about this the other day, I could just put something over the webcam and then be able to go right here at the side of the bike. But, you know, being real, also risky. Last thing you want is, you know, you're kind of in the zone, and, you know, you're, let's say, 40 reps in to this huge effort, and, you know, your second pee break comes around and you forget to cover the webcam. Like, literally something like that could happen. Like, you forget to put the thing over. You think, you know, I'm just on a normal training ride for a minute. You kind of are in that zone where, you know, I could just, you know, whip out and go here. So it's kind of risky that, like, you know, what if, you know, then you're pretty screwed. That, you know, channel's gone, but also just me, from modesty standpoint, once you're out on the internet, you're up. So it's a little bit riskier doing that. So the best way to do it, I think, is you on the up or right at the top. That's when you go, because your guy's going very slow at that point, and so you let yourself basically just come to a stop really quickly, and then you go, and then you turn back around. But that means, of course, that time spent going is time gone. Like, it's, your avatar is in Zwift, he's not moving, the time is running, and you're not pedaling, and you're not advancing any distance, or, you know, completion. Nowhere closer to the end. So it's a disadvantage from that perspective, and I know from training that I can normally get through rides 5-6 hours in length. Sometimes I've got through them with 0 nature break. The other weekend, my nutrition got a little thrown off, a little bit later into the day, and I had to do 2. My guy kept going, like on the screen, and so like the average power included that. But it's not something that you want to depend on, being like, oh, you know, I really hope I can get through, you know, 6-7 hours with 0 stops to go to the washroom. Like, I'm taking huge amounts of fluids and carbs and stuff. In all likelihood, I'm gonna have to go at some point. Even just by the fact that the room's gonna be at like 9 degrees Celsius. When it's cold, I tend to go more often when it's cold. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but for me, when I'm cold, I go, for sure. More than I would on a hot day. Give me a second. Getting toasty. Disadvantages around the Alp. Well, everything that makes the Alp good is also a bit of a disadvantage. In the fact that you do get such a long descent that's 11 minutes for a lighter rider. I don't go down the descent very quick. And so that's 11 minutes where 0 meters are being climbed. Right? And so it's a long time to have, you're not any closer to your goal for 11 minutes. You're not putting anything into that 8,848. The radio tower is much more like, 150 meters closer. Tiny respite to just basically take, in my experience from last couple weeks, you got enough time to basically take one swig, and then you're having to reach forward and make that turnaround. Again, the radio tower is very busy. Like mentally, it is very mentally taxing because you're on the entire time. There is no turning off. There's no I'm just gonna get a zone out for a bit. Like you're at such a power that you need to focus on the up, and on the descent you need to focus because you got to make a turnaround pretty quick, in good time, which also is quite good because the time goes pretty quick. So on the Alp, it's a long descent, and then probably my biggest, I'm not gonna say annoyance, but my biggest thing that I worry about with the Alp is the switchbacks. Sounds stupid, but 20, 21 switchbacks, 20 times that on 100% trainer difficulty, it is amazing how much you have to change gears on 100%. It's the 100% is a stupid rule to me. It doesn't make sense considering all trainers are a little bit different in the way they deliver, and also some just don't have, some trainers don't have the ability to go to 17% on the radio tower. So, if you got a trainer that maxes out like a tax flux or something at a little bit shallower of a gradient, well, you could have it on 100%, but it can't give you 17% anyways, even if it's on that. So, it doesn't really matter, right? So, it's also just, it feels so unnatural. To me, it's like either you're riding up a brick wall or there's no resistance. As soon as that road flattens out even just a little bit, give me a minute, stretch at the saddle. That's just the drawstring of the sweater hitting the frame. I thought for a second it was my crank. Nope, it's just my sweater. Looks like Constance is gonna roll through here in a sec. Isn't it amazing, these no copyright ones, how similar every single song sounds? So, yeah, the switchbacks, that's what I was talking about. That here's my example for why it feels unnatural, the 100%. So, I've got myself a 34 tooth here, purchased it for the Everest. If I went outside, okay, on 34 tooth, yes, it's a tiny gear, but if I was just gonna go and be like, you know, I'm just gonna spin around my neighborhood, basically, just like super chill, super relaxed, and literally just on the neighborhood streets, just go around, you know, on a nothing, not a bike ride, like a training ride, just spin, just an easy thing around the neighborhood. If I did that on a 34 tooth, it'd be no problem. Yeah, it'd be a small gear, but like, you wouldn't be spinning out on 0% gradient. It would actually feel almost nice, you know, having such a small little gear. Just, you know, easy, like we're doing right now, just, you know, 70 RPM, just rolling along. Be pleasant, perfectly fine. But on Zwift, when you go on 100% trainer difficulty, even if you're on a 0% gradient, I spin out every time. Like, I almost can't pedal. It's so weird. Like, I can be in, you know, a 13, 15, whatever, in the back. Doesn't matter. It's like, it's really hard to even put out 150, 180 watts, whatever. It's hard. Like, it's hard to go above 120, basically. Because the resistance is so minimal. And so the switchbacks, that's why they make me nervous. That it's a lot of times where it's like up, down, 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 up, down, 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 like times 8.5. So like 20, 21 switchbacks, whatever, times 8.5. And if you think like 3 or 4 gear changes for each one of those, like each one of the things, like you got to think like probably within the 41 minutes, I would say, on the Alp, and like the Garmin would count that for me, but like conservatively, I would say in terms of gear changes, conservatively I'd say over 250. Let's just, yeah, 250 gear changes per climb. And then again, times that by 8.5. And it's just a lot of mental gymnastics, you know, switching through like crazy. Radio tower, on the other hand, yes, you got to switch at the top and the bottom, but once you're on the actual climb, like when I was doing it on Saturday at 100% trainer difficulty, I changed once there, once after the bend, and then twice, so 4 gear changes. And so it's a lot easier to do that, because it's just A, it's so steep, and B, there's no parts, there's no switchbacks on it. Yeah, and that's exactly, thank you, that's exactly what I was saying, that, you're right, like, I had 2 options, either going midway up, which is hard, because now you're starting the ride, you know, starting back up at a huge gradient, so that's hard on your legs. So I do think the best route, best avenue, is basically as you're cresting up to the banner, stopping pedaling right there. So, you know, your avatar's at single-digit speeds, so he's going to slow down to 0 really, really quickly, and so it'd be no issue. Yeah, like that would be the way. But it does mean, as I said, like it's doable, yes, but that means you're not moving. So you're not moving back down the hill, and you're not advancing up, obviously. And so that's a minute and a half where there's no time being put into that to the ultimate goal. So and time is gonna matter here for sure, whether or not it's the Alp or on the radio tower. Sounds weird over such a long ride, but so I'll tell you that in 1 second what the times would be. The last thing I'll say, so the Alp, that was my biggest drawback on the Alp, is one, the length of the descent, so it's obviously longer. And even though that's not really a big drawback, so I'll get to the time right now. When you're doing the Everest, you have to look at what is the fastest Everest time going up the Alp, and what is the fastest Everest time going up the radio tower. They're different. They're different records. There's not, and this is something that is very hard to research, what the actual records are. The Everesting website's a joke. Like, there are guys on it who apparently have done Everesting in 24 minutes. Unless you're in a Raptor, don't think so. Like, not even a car can do an Everest in 24 minutes. Like, a Bugatti ain't doing it. To go up and down, no, not a chance. So that'd be interesting, actually. Now that I think about it, it'd be quite interesting. Could you do 8,848 meters in a car? The average speed would have to be pretty nasty. Plus the turnarounds at top and bottom every time. It's a 3-point turn, then it's done. But if it's a straight U-turn, it'd be interesting. But the point is, no one's doing that on a bike. So I can't look at that for the records. It's a joke. I've actually emailed the Everest people. They haven't got back to me yet, asking what the actual record is on both climbs. Like, what are they seeing as the actual record on the radio tower, and what is it on Everest? The two that I see, I'll just tell you right now, the two that I see, one, for the Alp, it's 7:17, and then for the radio tower, it's mind-blowing. It's 5 hours and 50. That one, there is, I will say, very little. There's a couple things on that one that I'll talk about. So that one I don't see on the Everest site. It's hard to, the Everest site is really hard to navigate. That one I don't know if the guy did 100%. Doesn't say it in the little article that was written about him. And I looked really closely at his Strava. He was taking a run at every single climb. He did 57 climbs, and right there that gives away the fact, no shade to the guy, but he was getting on the descent. So on the radio tower, when you go down the descent, once you hit the bottom, you then go back up before you're going to go back down the epic. Now, the little bubble of water just came out from the garbage bag, soaked me. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So the Everest is 150. The radio tower is 150 meters. Okay. And so if you take 8848 divided by 150, it should be 59 climbs. Mathematically, it should be 59 climbs. He did 57 and got that, and actually got above it. Got like 890, 8,900. That gives away that right there, without even having to look at the file, that when he came down, he would have let his avatar go back up that little ramp before you hit the epic banner, and then turned around. And what that does is it means that you're hitting the start of the radio tower, you're rolling through the start at close to 50k an hour, because you come through a descent. You come, like, you make the turnaround on the top of this little climb, and then you get a gully right before it. And you would be amazed at how much time that saves. In my experience, we're talking 15 seconds. Like, at the same power. A solid 15, even close to 20. But even if we say 15, times that by almost 60 climbs, adds up. That's what, 15 minutes different. Huge difference. Just because you're not, essentially you're not making the turnaround right at the bottom of the radio tower. You're letting your guy freewheel up a climb because he's coming off the radio tower with so much speed. You let him freewheel up the climb, you get about 6-7 meters extra free, and then so it's actually a double positive. It's two positives. One, you get a free 6-7 meters of climbing with zero pedaling, and two, you take about 15 seconds off your radio tower climb, each one, because you're getting to the bottom at 46 to 48 kilometers an hour versus hitting the bottom at, you know, at a turnaround, at a stop, basically. He did that based on, like, he did the first of letting his guy go up the ramp and then turn, and you can see it in the Strava file, and you can see it based on just the fact that he did 57 climbs. Mathematically, it shouldn't be 57 climbs. It's a 150 meter long climb. Mathematically, it's 59, 58.9. So you got 300 meters for free. And at a VAM of 1700, let's say, 300 meters at 1700, you got a free 10 minutes for zero effort. So it's hard to tell if that's been classified as official. I will say, if that is the official radio tower thing, then I would likely be doing similar, turning around at the banner or the sign post on the side, instead of right at the bottom of the climb. It makes gearing easier, and as I said, you get a run in to each climb. Is it cheating? I don't know, because I need the Everest people to get back to me on the radio tower, because I've asked them this exact question. What's the official thing on the radio tower? What's the ruling around that? And is that time efficient? Right? Is 5 hours 50 efficient? The Alp is much more clear cut. The Alp, the guy Michael Hudson or something like that, he did 7:17, and it's legit. Like, there's basically, you can't cheat the Alp at all. So I would say the 7:17 is a much more legit record. Swift Insider's even done a story about it. And again, the other guy, 50.5 kilograms. He looks like a really good cyclist. He did the power that he says he did. I'm sure of it. I got no issue with that. He's fantastic. But I just don't know about the ruling around the bottom of the climb. What is the ruling around the turnaround? Because if that is being allowed, that really changes the equation. And as I said, this 5-hour 50, pretty clear to me that that's exactly what he was doing. He was letting his guy go up that little ramp and then turning around. Which, I mean, I was doing in the 20 as well last week. I didn't go quite as high up as he did, in all likelihood, based on the VAM. Whew. I am gonna have to let these guys go very soon. Like, not because I really have to, but as soon as we get about 4, then we let these guys go, start a new lap, and then bring the power down. It is harder doing the talking. Like, that's driving the heart rate up very high. Let's just check in on Cortex. Both records, whether it's 550 and you're doing a run-in, it's exceptional. It's incredibly fast. I looked at it this other day there on Sunday, and it looks like he was doing all the climbs, 57 of them. He was doing all of them around 5.3 to 5.4 watts per kilogram. For him, at 50.5 kilograms body weight, I'm hopefully going to be 61. For me, that would mean, you know, I'm going to be would have to do, let's say, 325. Which, I'll say I can't do 325 for, maybe with a taper. I mean, it just felt like last week, with an incredible amount of fatigue in the legs, you know, 620, 615 would be a good time. But again, that's with massive amounts of fatigue in the legs. Maybe a taper gets me another 10 minutes. Maybe I could get under 6 up the radio tower. That would be phenomenal. If I got under 6, I would be ecstatic. It wouldn't be the record, but it would be an incredible time. And because it'd be, the normalized power would be basically 300 watts for 6 hours. Which, like, that's 4.9 watts per kilogram. That would be, for, you were talking about long-term goals before. For long-term goals, that would be incredible. If I just rolled 6 hours at, yeah, essentially 5 watts per kilo. Cool. Gotta stop talking for a bit and hydrate. I'm way behind. Listen to talking. Let's see what we're at. This is, I'm gonna let them go right after this shot. Skin temp and core temp are very high. For the power, that is. Core temp's not horrible, I've seen it a lot higher, but skin temp's very high, 98 current. The way I see it on the records front, I think I'm very close to both, the radio and the out. But right now, this is early in the week without a taper, you know, I'm thinking about what previous sessions have felt like, which unfortunately not a perfect test or like thing because, you know, they're done with massive fatigue. I'd say I'm close to the records, but I think I'm just short. Like very close. But yeah, it needs to be a good day. A very good day. I'd say right now. And I need to be 61 kilos. But, you know, this is a big, I'll talk about this more in the rest of this ride here, but I need to hit 61, but at the same time, what's more important, being 61 or 62, or like versus 62? If 61 means, you know, your glycogen is quite low and or dehydrated, right? Which is the 1 kilogram worth it at that point? I would say no. I would think, to me, being topped up and 1 kilogram heavier, hell, I would go as far as saying if I was 63 kilograms, which I haven't been, but if I was 63, you know, you just, let's say you have trouble going to the washroom in the morning, whatever, things happen, right? And I do my weigh in, which I'll be doing before, and I see 63. If I see 63, then, hey, I just push more power. That's what we do, right? Then instead of, you know, targeting, let's say 310, hey, we're doing 315. Guess what? Right? Which I'm fine with. I'm perfectly fine with. If it means that the reason I was that weight is, you know, because I'm hugely topped up on carbs and hydration. That gives me the power to push the power, right? I'm not going to sacrifice I'm not going to trade low glycogen for, you know, half a kilo or a kilo. Nope, not going to do it, right? On either climb. Whether or not it's the Alpha or the radial tower. Doesn't matter. God, this song sucks. So annoying. I'll also be dual recording this because this, to me, I want this. So I'm going to be doing everything for this to get, even if it's not a record, I want this time up. Because I've trained really hard, and so I don't want anything jeopardizing. Right? I don't want anything, oh, well, you know, what about this? You know, did you do that before? Oh, well, no, I didn't. You know, I don't want anything. Right? Everyone here knows I'm legit. I'm strong. Of course, you guys all know. But my point is I don't want anyone who doesn't know me to see whatever the time ends up being on either one of the climbs, and for there to be any shred. Because I've worked too hard for there to be any doubt. Right? I want them to know that, like, this is the time. And I do have talent, and I know that. I think people have questioned that in the past. You know, they'll say things like, oh, you didn't dual record that one, did you? And I'll say, no, funnily enough, I'm actually using a power meter that reads lower. And that's going to be the thing on the weekend, too. I'm using my Cork over the Elite Justo 2. The Elite Justo 2 is the highest accuracy power meter ever made on a trainer. And I'm using the cork, even though the cork reads lower. Because the cork is what I use all the time. It's what I've been using in training. It's what I use outside for racing. It will be the power source, even though I know they're very close. But the cork reads about 2 watts lower. Now on the weekend's ride, there was a point in the ride where they were dead even, and then it was hard to tell because one paused before the other at one point. But I would say the Justo at, let's say, 250, I'm going to an hour, and then letting these chaps truck on, and I'll back it down. This is perfect, been perfect. I've got exactly what I needed out of the group. But I've hit my target. Like, I don't want to have this get into the mid-high fives. Rather not. This has already been harder than normal. So it's just I'm so behind right now on hydration from talking so much. Alright, see you guys. It's been good. And so yeah, cardiac drift is definitely an effect here. Driving the heart rate up very high. Yeah, I'm not even halfway through this. So yeah, I was saying on the power of the, give me a minute, just see if I can get my heart rate down a bit. Catch up a little bit. Always a little trick to get my heart rate down is go out of the saddle for a bit. Usually that'll take it down a few. What's interesting is they'll take it down a few, and then if you keep going out of the saddle, then it'll start actually increasing that. So it got to be short enough that it goes down, but not so long that the effort starts going up because you're driving more power. So yeah, and you'll see it on the day. The Justo and the cork at 250, they're around 1 watt, maybe 2 different, maybe. With the Justo reading the higher. This cork, the one here on the Axis cork, this one does read lower. With the Ceres, when it was the power source, like, or not the power source, but the erg source, like when I put it in erg mode, it would read very close to the cork as well, but the difference is that whereas the Justo 2 kept that in the range, kept it within, 1 or 2 watts, throughout the entire 6-hour ride on the weekend, which was my first ride on it. The Ceres, what it would normally do is it would read close to the cork in the beginning, but come the 6-hour mark, the Ceres would start going down. I.e., like, the Ceres would think, how do I word it? The Ceres, if you told the Ceres, give me 250, the Ceres would think it's at 250, but the cork, which I use as the power source always, the cork would be at 235, 240. And that gap would, my point is after 3-4 hours, that gap would just get bigger. Like in the beginning of the ride, they'd be within a couple watts, but it would start getting bigger, where the Ceres would be overreading essentially, or the cork underreading, but more likely it's the Ceres overreading as it heats up. Which is why I've always used the cork as my power source, because the cork is fantastic at adjusting for temperature changes. Adjusts for everything. I find the calibration holds like much better. Like, what I mean is the 10-minute, what your power's reading at the 10-minute mark is the same, like everything is the same as what it is at the 2-hour mark. So it's able to adjust much better. Whereas the Ceres seems like it would heat up and it would start overreading compared to the cork. The Justo seems like, from at least this is what, the 3rd ride on it now, it holds exceptionally close. So here, for example, I have the Elite app going. I have the cork going. Cork is what you're seeing on the screen, okay? The average on the Elite is, I don't know if you can see this. The Justo has the average power at 188, and the cork, see, 185. It was at 186 there, it's now 185. This one will probably go down to 187 in a second. So they're within 2 watts, but it was 188 and 186. So the power meter that's connected to Zwift is the lower of the reading power meters. Again, you'll see this on Saturday once everything gets uploaded. Well, there is going to be no denying, as there never should have been denying, because I've worked very hard for my efforts. And everything's always been legit. And for this, because there's records on the line, this one will be even more so, as everything will be up on live streams and displays, so that records can be taken if we come to that. As I said, I don't know if I can actually take them. I know, let me say it like this. I know I can break both records. Yeah, the Elite just went down to 187. So the Elite's giving average of 187, and the cork connected to Zwift is 185. You can see in that lower number down there. So that's the difference of 1%, where the cork is reading 1% lower. Yeah, so that's actually quite good, because the room's going to be getting quite hot with the heat session. Just humidity is cranking through the roof here. Stupid drawstring. It's making that sound. As I said, I think right now my thoughts going in early in the week here, zero taper has been achieved at this point. Today is day 1. And with it, I think I'm close to both of either the Alp or radio tower. I think I'm probably closer to the Alps. The radio tower's 550 seems a little out of reach, whereas 717 up the Alp seems closer, like within a couple minutes. The other, on a good day, I think I'm within 8 minutes, 9 minutes, in that range. Again, it depends on that turnaround, what the situation is on that turnaround. If I'm doing the same thing that he did, we're very close. If I'm turning around right at the bottom, then I think we're within 10, let's say, just for easy general numbers. Now, having said that, I think I'm close, but I'm not sure I could, like I'm at above it. Do I think I could get above it? Absolutely. I think I could destroy both of them with, you know, another block, another chunk of training. You know, the LT1 has gone up massively. LT1, put it this way, LT1 is right now where LT2 was about, what would that have been, a month and a half ago? Like literally, a month and a half ago. LT1 is now what LT2 was. It's insane. Like, but LT2 needs to go up. With all the volume, LT1's gone through the roof, but we definitely need a block of some intensity as well. LT2's gone up as well, obviously. It has, like, it's gone up probably 45 watts in that time, 40, let's say. Remember, this is coming off surgery, so the improvements are going to be big and quick, right? Like, they're going to be dramatic compared to 6 weeks normal, right? But, yeah, I think we do need some intensity, like maybe 2-3 weeks of just like pound some intensity to get LT2 really cranking, and then build the volume back, like, and start kind of swinging back between, like in little blocks of each. Huge volume, huge intensity, like, you know, just a classic kind of thing. Instead of just all volume for the most part. Like, I've done VO2 workouts every Monday, 30-15s every Monday, but on them I've always been saying to myself, like, you know, you would normally do however many, 40 reps, you know, do 25, you know, do 30 of them, whatever. Like, it's not the focus right now. I just want a little stimulus, but like just enough. But I'm not like trying to, I don't want, even though I would normally do, let's say 3 sets of 10, 4 sets of 10, we're doing 3 sets of 10, right? Could we do 4? Yes. But we're leaving something in the tank here. Because the legs are really tired. Like, on most of these sessions, they are tired. I feel good, obviously, but like, what I mean is, there's no doubt there will be a lot of fatigue, even if you don't feel it. Like, biking 120 hours in 4 weeks, there's fatigue in the legs. Like, even if you think like, oh wow, I'm smashing that workout. Yeah, well, I mean, you'd be higher number for sure in the intensity session if you weren't at 30 hours into every week, right? But there's no doubt that the block achieved what it was supposed to, which was it drove LT1 through the frickin' roof. And this whole time I have been planning on the Alp, and that was about the intensity that I was gunning for, right? And so, like, for perspective, what would be a good perspective set. I'm trying to think what would be a good way of saying what I was going to say. I don't know. I'm getting fuzzy with what I've been talking about at this point. Oh, there's a whole bunch of... Oh, thank you. Sorry, I didn't see these messages before. This with a garbage bag underneath this too. I don't know if you tuned in from the beginning, but I have a garbage bag on, and then a thermal turtleneck on top of that, and then a sweater on top of that, and no fan. So, hence seen very high core temp. I'd be, zone 1 for me ends around, say, 230. So around like 3.8 watts per kilo, and we're just starting to get out of zone 1 in a 7-zone model. 3-zone model, zone 1 goes all the way up to about 280. 280 to 285, depending on fatigue and whatnot. But yeah, right now LT1 and LT2 are quite close to each other. That's what's interesting, right, with all the volume. Both have gone up, but the LT1 has gone up more than LT2. And so now there's only 40 watts between the two. I could likely get it to 80, would be ideal. And at that point, even if we got it 60, right, then I could break both records. Going back to what I was talking about, that's what I was talking about. I could break both records, I think, at this point, like at some point in the year, for sure. Whether or not that's Saturday this week, don't know, but both are definitely ones that I could break. Great heat session. Holy moly. Hot as we've been in a long time. Justo is at 182. Pork, that guy on Swift is at 180. Normally these heat sessions I usually spend a lot of time in aero, but I've been talking so much.
fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you,
Ten minutes. And she's done. Sweat rates could be insane. Every time I move up like this, I feel the little sweat baby in my, like, sloshing in the garbage bag underneath. It creates like a little bucket of water. There's more dropping down my leg. Super warm. Feels like you peed. It does. It feels exactly like you peed. Because it's like just super warm water running down my leg.
but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you, for you, for you, for you,
Cooking. It's the drawstrings that are making that sound. Just steadied out nicely. 5.1. It was making me a bit nervous for a while there, thinking, oh my god, this could turn horrible. Like, I do not want to see it get to 7. Thinking, oh, if we keep at this rate, it's gone. But it steadied out nice.
Yeah.
garbage bag is so good at keeping the skin temp steady. It's amazing. Just like simple and doesn't, destroy zippers or anything. So functionally really good. Or like, whatever. You know what I'm saying? But then also, from a training effect, training stimulus, it keeps your skin temp like rock solid. If you do base layers or anything, like just normal clothing, I talked about this before, but eventually the clothing gets wet, so wet that the sweat itself starts to cool you. The fact that you're wearing wet clothes, even though sweat, that's what it's supposed to do always anyways, but you know what I'm saying? Like, the fact that it's wet cools you, even if there's no evaporation occurring, right? But, you're wearing wet clothes for an hour and a half, and so you start getting cold. Not like cold, but like, you start seeing the skin temp go down. So it could easily go down to like 93, 92 by the end. But here we're still upper 90s. And then core temp just keeps going up because of it. So like it doesn't, you don't get to any point where it's like the core temp just, stops going up because, you're actually getting cold. Here it's keeping the skin temp rock solid. And so core temp 102.17, and it's just gonna keep going. 102.18. I mean, I'm probably sweating at 3.3 liters an hour, I would say. And yet, the sweat's just, it's not having any impact. Like, it's not cooling me through either evaporation if you had a fan on, or from the fact that you're just getting wet. Just gonna go 60K. Nice round number. Yeah, 33. That was a good one. Great ride. One of my best ever rides. Probably the best ever ride I've done. It was unbelievable. I was out of the saddle the entire time. Just felt like it was one of those, couldn't feel the chain. Just felt great. It wasn't even that. It was just that the training was so dialed going in that it did just feel like just running through a program, running through, what we practiced. It was like, hey, we practiced holding X power, to the flat turn, to the long one, and just went and did exactly that. And then it was like, yeah, we've trained to be able to hold X across the steady section in the middle, and just, program start, done, executed. It was like just clockwork that ride. So it wasn't like did something that the training didn't indicate, but it was so exact to what the training indicated, you know what I mean? And I set big training goals for myself going into that, so it wasn't like, oh, the goal was soft. They were big, they were hard. But then it was like, oh, you wanted, 357 across that section there, 357, like, maybe even 358, but it was just exact. It was, as I said, I felt like it was like a computer. heart rate. Beautiful. Woo! Look at that coming out of that chute. Holy jumpers. I can't wait to see what this sweat rate is. It'll be mind-boggling. And because of that, I gotta do the weigh-in very quickly here. So, because you keep sweating. And so, even if you got 10 minutes between, you know, taking everything off and weighing in, you'll have sweat a lot. At the rate that I'm sweating, the fact that the core temp is still gonna be 102 plus, you're just gonna keep sweating and sweating and sweating and sweating. So, you gotta, if you're gonna measure sweat rates, you gotta measure it now. Hence, thank you for watching, everyone. I'll see you again in the week to chat a little bit more once I've decided between the two climbs. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you later.